Neale Howells, welcome to the podcast. I should have started recording 10 minutes ago, really, because it was good stuff straight away. We're only
Oh,
saying hello.
I know. But that's me. See, I'm a natural. We'll do some more stuff now, and we'll do it even better. It's like it'll be the greatest interview we've ever done. Look, I'm not influenced by Trump or nothing, but I'm looking. This is going to be the best,
The
right?
best interview of all time.
Of
Probably the
all
best
time.
there's ever
Okay.
been. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
right.
Okay.
So I tell you what, let's recap. We were just talking about something before we started recording. We were talking about, in a roundabout way, we were talking about this podcast and how it leads on from what Wales Arts used to be and, what the future sort of is. And you said that,
You look like Meryl Streep.
yeah, yeah. And
You've got the same DNA.
I
Yeah.
thought I'd comb my
You look
hair a
younger
different
now than I
direction,
remember before. Oh, okay. You could.
that I haven't aged
Well,
like Meryl
well,
Streep.
you could easily knock out Welsh Review too, I guess. Well,
But you said that you went to the library in Neath recently, the other day, last week, and
and
they
they let
didn't
me in.
even have a copy of the Western Mail there.
Didn't have a copy of it. Yes, they said somebody stole it, but besides that, they started saying, "Look, we've had our cutbacks. We're not going to be stocking it anymore," which is a shame, really, because they hadn't been in there for years, and I say years, a while, because they moved it to a new place. So it was a case of like I expected it to have the same facilities as the old library, but no, I was quite surprised to find there was no Western Mail. They don't keep the Western Mails anymore. They throw them out at the end of the day. And then on the same page, then I put on the Facebook, then I see that Neath Council spending £12 million on a cafe somewhere, They talking millions in one sentence, and yet they can't afford like you said, the national newspaper of Wales. So
Yeah, I mean, it is, whether people like it or not, it is our only national newspaper.
yeah, I know. I don't know how much it is now. It is quite expensive, mind, isn't it?
I
But
mean, it is quite
i-
expensive,
if
but
they if,
for
if
good
they
reason.
can't afford it, then nobody can they? This is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
This is like,
It's
but
yeah,
it's
it's amazing to think that any local library can't quite find the money to. I mean, there should be an
well,
obligation to put the I mean, the paper of record uh,
It
in
was,
the
it
local
was hardly
library.
anybody in there as well. It was a bit strange. It was, maybe, there's a lot of things that have changed about the library, like putting the newspapers downstairs, so old people can't don't have to go up the stairs to get them. It's just practical things like that. It was,
Mm.
so, but it's all gone anyway. Yeah, so
Apart from
trying
that,
to
how is
park
Nice? Are
that.
you in Nice now?
I'm in the house at the moment, so I'm gonna be going down to the studio later on. You asked me earlier on, didn't you, if I still have my studio? So
Yeah.
yeah, I still got it. It's in Port Talbot, and I have. It, I've been down there so long, it must be 20 years. Must be 20 years. So I've seen come-ins and go-ins. So the people we got on the come-ins at the moment are Pizza Pod, and they moved in next door. So they are doing the festival. So I was chatting to him, and I said, well, it might be a good idea if we could maybe work together on something. And so that's what we've done. We've redesigned their packaging for them for
Oh
the
wow. Okay.
for the pizza itself. So we haven't done every one of them, but on certain pizzas, it's like an incentive to buy one in a way, because you can get a free piece of art with it, and we're trying to make it a bit fun. So I'm going to go down there on this Sunday, and hopefully, it'll be nice weather because festivals, isn't it? And
Yeah.
have a bit of fun with
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that for me at this time in my life, that's what I want. I love collaboration. Uh, whereas before I wouldn't even go nowhere near it. Is that weird? How
Is that
people
true
think?
though? I mean, I've always thought of you as like a collaborative artist. You've always, and somebody who's always looking for. I mean,
Trouble?
this can sound wrong, but you're always looking for an opportunity to create something and to do something a bit different and to reach out.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do that, and I do that whether it's on my own or not. But I've always put off. Oh, I don't know. Even from when college days, it was difficult to work with other people. Do you know what I mean? But then suddenly, I started working with. I wanted to work with somebody, but I wanted it to be the right person. Well, you don't know it's the right person until you work with them. But and I sort of got in touch with Jane Pearson, and after seeing her work, she's a fashion designer from West Wales, and so I got in touch with her after seeing her stuff in a magazine that Emma Gelliot was running at the time. It was like a Welsh arts magazine.
I remember, yeah, I remember that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I got in touch with her, and then, you know, eventually, after a little, after a while, a project came up. We could work together. But I got so much from that project. It was just brilliant to work with somebody, and it dawned on me. It's like if you work with somebody, you get more done. So, and then I had the opportunity to work in a school, and I said no. This was an arts council thing. They had this, what do they call it? The arts council, I don't know, detectives or something. And they had this name for it anyway. And I just, I said, no, I can't work with schools. What do I know about teaching? Anyway, 4 other artists were involved, and I got persuaded to do it. I think if you ask me 3 times, I usually say yes on the third one.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And then I said, yeah. And God, that was so much fun. You know what I mean? I was sort of like, because I think with collaboration, you can share the blame if it all goes wrong, right? That's a good example of it. But it's it's surprising how working together you can create things that you wouldn't have thought of, with other people, and they're all good, and we're all different artists, really. Um, so that was good as well, and I was so chuffed with the end result of that film. So I thought, it was quite good.
What was it that attracted you to Jane Pearson's work? Because that was sort of a big moment in your career, wasn't it? Doing that the fashion collaboration and working with her.
Well, I seen Jane's work in the art magazine that Emma had done. But I just find out then that she not only she sung the theme tune, she wrote the theme tune, she basically done all the work on this. So she was taking the photographs and everything. So I looked at a website, and I could see that she's done videos, and I thought, my God, these are good, aren't they? It's really special. Reminded me a bit of like very arty, very David Lynchy, maybe. But obviously so that's what attracted me to her, really, in a way. I mean, you could tell she was really good at what she'd done. So that's how I got in touch with her. And then 2 years later, after that, really, this project came up. So that I was fortunate she thought of me, really. I mean, that project, that was like 40 years of punk or something.
Mm.
It was an anniversary of it in London. So she was asked to do it, and she thought of me, and then she said, well, I said, what should I do? She said, oh, you can do anything you want. So I, I'd never done it before, and I'd always had these ideas, and then I think you just grew. Every time you've done a collection, you learned from that one to put it on to the next one. It was simple things like, uh, I mean, they're very intense lot, fashion is, right?
Oh, is
Whereas
it?
yeah, they're not like artists who just have an opening and they chill out for the rest of the night and they get drunk slowly. This lot, they are just sort of everything's got to happen in half an hour. So the band's got to play, the girls or the models got to walk up, and everything's done within a short period of time, and it's got to be dead on. And so I realized, I said, it was like, you know, that it is what it is. And then, of course, they have a big party after they caught them. But it's all about the photograph of them, see? And I realised that I was spending so much time on the back of the jackets. The back of the jackets weren't actually being seen. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It was the front they wanted. The girls walking down, or the models walking down. So it was little things like that you learn, and then you can sort of improvise next time. Make sure that okay, let's try and make sure next time now it's all going on in the front or something.
So in a way, you were thinking of it because anybody would. This is a three-dimensional project, and then you come to the actual presentation of it, and you find out it's a two-dimensional project.
Well, no, you're right. It's a three-dimensional. It was. I looked at it like you'd create something in the studio, and then then it would come down the catwalk, and it would like create it. So it would become like kinetic sculpture. because
Right.
okay, the photograph is all about the front, but anybody on the side would see all the wrap around, and the garments would be walking down, and they'd be, walking down on their own. But I mean, and in the end, we painted everything, trousers, shoes, bloody. I think at one point I even done a wedding dress, right? But
Wow.
I know, I know. It was, I mean, spent a lot of time in that wedding dress, and but it never got shown. So it's a shame, really. Um, so yeah, I mean, we tried to sort of be more creative as you went along, and I think we done maybe, um, I think it was about 7 collections in all. Yeah, 7 collections, and that were over 2 collections a year,
Mm,
right? And I think we went from like this basement which was an old vinyl factory of records, which won't make it, but that's what it used to be apparently. To the Coal Exchange in Cardiff, Coal Exchange in London, and I mean that was this really lovely building. I mean,
mm,
and then he was competing with other people, then so it was all good. No, it was really good. I mean, possibly, very exciting. I mean, the it was in 2016, and I wasn't told about it, and then I was shown that Alicia Keys was wearing some of the stuff that we had done for the opening of The Voice in America. I mean, that was really good because
mm.
it's something you'd made in the studio in Batalbert. Next minute, it's out there, being watched by like millions. So it was I mean, it was things like that. I mean, it was popping up on the X Factor over here. They were popping up on The Voice, um, music videos, and yeah, people like that, All Saints, and they used to, I think Jane would say like, so and so wants something done, and
Wales Arts Review is back, and it's a podcast. Or rather, the new Wales Arts Review is being built before your very eyes around the central column of my conversations with some of the most interesting and vital cultural figures working today. But for us to survive and grow this time, we very much need your help. If you like what we're doing, like what we stand for, then like our posts, and most importantly, subscribe. The more subscribers to our Substack newsletter and YouTube channel, the better placed we will be to grow and pay writers to tackle the most pressing cultural subjects of the day. Via Substack, you can become a paid subscriber and gain access to exclusive content and an ever-growing Wales Arts Review archive. And by hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, not only do you let the platform know you'd like to see more of our stuff, but you increase the chances of us drawing down revenue from ads. All that goes back into Wales Arts Review to help us grow and improve. We need your support. Press those buttons and then go and enjoy our stuff. It's all for you anyway.
do you know what else I learned? Don't leave. Once something leaves the studio, it never comes back, right? So it's, if you think that it's not finished, or if you know it's not finished, but you still leave it out, that's it. That's the way it's going to be seen, right? And it's just like, oh, couldn't have got. Oh, look, right? Can I have it? I will have to have it back because I don't. It's not finished. In my opinion, it's not finished anyway. They never come back, and then you see them, and you look at them, and you go, "But yeah, they're wearing it, but it's not finished." And it annoys me. Like they like it, but
Yeah. How do you, I mean, it's an old question. How do you know when something's finished? How do you stand back and go, I think I've got everything that I want to say in that piece of work?
I mean, I mean, the same principle applies to, say, I'm doing a large painting, really. It's weird because you can do really large work, and it doesn't matter really how big it is. Because I think the secret, of the painting comes down to the detail, and it's just weird how you can keep on working on a piece or just doing something over and over again, and then you'll come into the studio one day and you'll just be so frustrated with it, and you just do something really quickly and you'll put something on it which surprises yourself, but then it will bring it all back. Bring it all together for you. Um, with the clothes, it was a lot easier. I sort of, I really had a vision in my mind of what they'd all look like.
Mhm.
So I knew when it came to the end, I knew, roughly what would look good. You know, so I would. Well, seeing that, sometimes I overworked things, and it's, you think,
Did
oh,
you,
well, why
did
you spend so much time on something which is going to be seen like that?
Yeah. Did you feel any extra pressure on the fact that it was a collaboration and you were a little bit of an interloper in the fashion industry? I think I would feel like maybe a little bit more pressure because you have to whenever in life, I suppose you feel you have to impress people who are not your people, as it were, in inverted commas.
Well, I mean, I went up there and I didn't know what to expect. But I was getting lots of good feedback from Welsh people. I mean, Jane got a big following with S4C and that. So they were all up there supporting her, and they were just like they used to come on to me and they say, "Oh my God, these are really good." You know what I mean?
Mm.
So when you're getting feedback like that, um, and we was getting asked to do more and more and more. So it gives you the more confidence, really, I suppose. I don't. I try not to overthink it all as well because I think thinking is bad for you. Right? So just do it and then not worry about it too much, really. I mean, it was just a lot of art. It was a lot of work in the end because we were just doing shoes and everything. And I mean, I just realized that there was so much work going out. The people couldn't possibly see everything we was doing. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Because there was just so much of it. So don't worry about the little details and stuff. I think, I think as long as you put something impactful onto the work. I see. No, I always wanted to do a book on jacket art, right? And my thing about jacket art is that we grew up with it. From a Wrangler to a leather jacket, people would put these statements on the back, and I always thought, well, it'd be lovely to have a book with pictures of all those for what people had done to their jackets, throughout the years and stuff. And I suppose everybody wanted to do something which is good on the jacket, and wear it, and that was, and I guess that's the approach I had. I just wanted to do something which was good, and then
Yeah.
would feel and look good. It's not too much thinking, but that was enough, really. And I think that's all fashion is, really. It's
But
aesthetics.
did you feel? I mean, maybe I'm getting the wrong end of the stick, but maybe a little bit as it went on, you felt a little bit like you were just creating items, commercial items rather than pieces of art. If there's such a sort of conveyor belt attitude to the stuff going out, that did you get a bit tired of it? Did you get a bit disillusioned with it by the end, or?
Um, no, I didn't. I sort of, I mean, right up to the very end, we were working in. I mean, Jane would come and say, "Look, right, this time, I just want to use these two colors or something," and I'd shake my head because the colors were just wrong. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not. You can't, right? Look, those colors. I know what you want. Do you want this color, this type of color, and that type of color? Well, okay, I'll remix the colors to be more suitable for what to look at that. And this is what I mean. If you look at any fashion picture, it's all got its roots in fine art,
Hmm.
and it's as simple as that. So I came I came at it from that area anyway, and I could see what. So I wanted to do everything that was worthy. I didn't get tired. I mean, I was so enjoying the process of it. Um, I mean, right up to the very end. I mean, the tiring part of it was preparing the work. It's just like everything else,
Hmm.
covering, making sure, and this, you cover all the cloth and all that with whatever you needed to, and then once you do the painting. I mean, it's for me, it's like, well, it's just like going to the studio every day. Do you ever get bored of that? No, it's hard work. And it's hard work, but you persevere with it. Um, well, I mean, persevere sounds like it. I mean, nobody tells me to go. What do people tell me to go down there? Is that a
Do
voice
they?
in your head? Just that you've got to do it. Because if you don't do something, then you get really, frustrated that you're not doing anything. So I think it's in your DNA to do things. No, I didn't. No, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and because when I'm doing throughout the studio over the years, like 20 years, say to do 20 years to work in the studio, I think you go quite balmy.
Mm.
So I was always looking for other things to do. So whether that was like animation, and then, I spent a couple of years doing that. I was lucky enough to have an Arts Council award for that. And then I would incorporate that into the artwork. And so everything I was learning on these peripheral, things that were that would give me something to do apart from, as well as the painting, that was always a good thing. See, I always thought, so whether it's printing, and then you just feed it back into the painting anyway. You know what I mean? It's like a little holiday when you do fashion and that, or do animation or do film. Because at the end, I'm there to complete these pictures, and so, it's all done, and it gives you ideas how to approach things differently. So, I mean, it's no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really good. This is really good to see him still used, I suppose. Still out there and that.
Talking about the art, the process, getting up and doing the work as part of your something in you, part of your DNA. I mean, where does that all come from? What was your upbringing like in Neath? Was it particularly open to art? Was there a lot of art around? Was there a lot of creativity in, or did you sort of come from a different angle?
I've right. Hang on that. I mean, for no reason at all, right, Gary? Right, right. So,
Yeah, we should do the whole podcast like this, really.
we could do it like this. I mean, what's this about, right? For a lot of the time, I've been using this sort of like a bag or a box on my head and just going outside and just doing a few things. Why do I need to do it? I don't know. I mean, I think art have always been about fun for me. I like having fun, and art is, I mean, you go back to your roots, and I think you're either. I remember asking a question before, right? Can intelligent people make art?
That's a good question.
And I can't remember.
Well, it goes back to your idea about not thinking too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the answer was no, they can't. They can't. So so art is basically like a primeval thing, right? And I think that is what I've got, because I mean, I remember leaving school and I thought, well, I want to go to art college. I remember seeing my cousin with an art folder, and I said, "What's in there?" He said, "I'm a graphic designer." I said, "All right." So I didn't know much about art, but I just wanted to know. I remember I applied to Swansea Art College. I got in. I remember getting in on an illustration course, and then they just told me, they said, "Hang on, how old are you?" I said, "What? I'm 16." I had a late birthday, right? And she goes, "Well, you can't come here. You're too young." I said, "All right, okay." so that, so I was, all, so I was a bit like, okay. She said, "I'll have to do it again. I'll have to play next year." I said, "All right." But by then, I'd already started work and stuff like that. It was like, I mean, this is the 80s, so it was always like YTSs and government schemes and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think it was like on my last government scheme, I remember thinking, well, I think I was about 20 then, 19 or 20. Oh, that is it. I can't do any, this is it now. So, and then that's when I walked into Neath College, and I wanted to do a O level in this, O level in that, because I thought, oh, well, let's go back to college. I thought that's what college was. And they said, well, you can't do O level in this, and you can't do O level. I said, why? Because, well, you've never done it before. I said, right, hang on now. If I'd done it before, I wouldn't want to do it now, would I? Right? This is my logic. So they said, look, you've done an O level in art. Go and do you can do A level in that. Phew. I mean, that was the advice, and that was as simple as that. So I turned right instead of turning left, and
So that was the story. So you were just like
well,
that set you on the path that you find yourself still on now.
yeah. I mean, I would art teacher Ian Wagstaff. I think you hear people going about teachers and that, and I guess it does come down to that. I mean, I live 24 hours a day in the. I mean, I would have gone in the weekends if it was open. I just couldn't. I couldn't believe it. I sort of found where I needed to be, and it was the art room, and I was just like, just allowed to just to get on with anything I wanted to do, from drawing to painting to sculpture, to make whatever I want in the gardens and outside, and so it was incredible. I mean, it was good for me, and I know this for a fact that when I went in there, there was a couple of there was a gang or so. The first year I was art, and it was the second year, and they were like goths, and they used to patrol outside the art room. They were all doing art, and but they come on to me in the cafe one day. They said, "This Neale, we always see you when we pass. You're always in the art room. What's going on?" I said, "Well, I like art. I'm enjoying myself." And he said, "Ah, right, okay. Well, I'm doing art as well, and I'm not." And then they all started actually coming back into the art room. Do you know what I mean? So it was nice in a way. I felt like I
Yeah.
was. I mean, I got to say, it was a real good year. My year was a real good year. We had Edward Thomas. Now, Edward Thomas, he went off to revamp Doctor Who with Russell
Yeah.
T. Davis. And I still keep in touch with Edward. Charlie Hazel Edwards, probably known more as Pure Evil, he was now these days as a graffiti artist. But his dad was an artist, John Hazel Edwards. So it was a very I think we were all slightly competitive with each other, which made it really good. We always tried to make things better than the other person, and I think that's how. I think that's why it was such a good year. And mentioning Ed, but there, his studio, because he works in film now. You can tell me to shut up whenever I want to, Gary. I mean, you go,
No,
go
you
get,
go on. This is
look,
good.
go and get yourself something to eat, right? I'll continue doing the talking.
Perfect
And
guess.
And I'll interview you then right towards the end. By the way, Barry, what are you doing these days? So yeah, so so Edward comes down to the studios because he works in film. His studio is slightly bigger than mine, I gotta say. But we had this idea, to start placing real artwork, and this was only last year or the year before. Real artwork into real into a real series on the television. So he said, "Look, I'm working on The Guest with Eve Miles, and I think it's Gabriel Creevy."
Mhm.
Anyway, it was a brand new 6-part series, and he said, there's an opportunity to put you out. We're gonna, so we put a large piece on the stairs, a large painting, and then 4 of us hidden through various parts of it all. And it was really, I thought it was really good because I said, look, actually, he called us up there to watch the stunt being done in front of the picture. I mean, it was great, man, a stunt in front of the picture. I said, I mean, ideally, I said, the the guy who is now being thrown off the balcony would crawl up the stairs and with his blood-stained hands go up to the wall, up to the window, and go, "Why?" I know, I can see that picture when I was falling backwards. It's really good, isn't it? But no, that didn't happen. Can you imagine? But I
That
mean,
would have been great. He didn't
it
take
would.
that idea up though.
Sadly, no. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but he did ask us to come to the Dragon Studios. I mean, it's all going on in Wales. This is the thing, isn't it? To see where they'd rebuilt a replica of this house they were filming in on the staircase there, and they were doing the stunt and that. So it was all. So I took my daughter up to Esney, and she's like, we all had. I mean, it was a great morning, spoilt and seeing it all, seeing how things are done. So that was a case of like hiding work within a BBC series and then asking people to spot them and that. So, and I always think well, I remember seeing Mark Evans, who I recently went to see him chatting in Elysium in Swansea, about putting real work into a series rather than just asking the people in scenery to do it. So wouldn't it be more
Mm.
fun if actually, because I know anyway, so He always agreed. But that was years ago, so this was an actual opportunity to put something you'd thought about
Mm.
into practice. And it's quite good because, you can get, for artists, you get, there's, you get a little revenue when your art is actually shown on television or something, so it's good that way, sort of like,
It's an interesting creative decision as well, isn't it? Because you're bringing attention to something that is part of the story, but also has a life outside of the story, right? Because it's your artwork.
mm.
Was it in the show? Was it your artwork? Was it, oh, this is there was no pretense that it was anybody else's work, a fictional painter within the world of the television show. It was
Well, ideally, they could have started the show with Neale's artwork and then had a small title saying what the BBC's guest did, Even Miles,
that would have been
Maybe it
perfect.
could have been like that. Coming
Yeah,
at you in CinemaScope into the screen, that would have been fun. So this is no, they were all settled. The guy was like, they wanted artwork in these big house because he was, I don't know, a smuggler or some sort, and they
right.
wanted to show, his wealth via art, I guess, Well, that's still out, isn't it? Looking at the wall, "Ooh, look at that, boy, you got no taste, does he, this guy? No wonder he got thrown off the balcony or something, It's just like, but you're quite right, it's about looking for different things to do. The avenues of galleries and showing your work in galleries now I think it's changed a lot, when you've got so much other ways you can show artwork if you want to.
Mm.
Um,
What
monetarizing it, I think that's a difficult
Yeah, of
part, isn't
course.
it?
Yeah. What do you think about the moves of a national contemporary art gallery, which you must have been following? The government funding this contemporary art gallery, which is going to be across Wales in 5 different venues. But then you've got this other private, I can't remember the name of the guy, but this other private gallery. Is he Norwegian or something? This private gallery cropping up in Cardiff around the same time.
Yeah,
A contemporary art. I mean, that seems to be movements in an interested direction, specifically for contemporary art. In Wales.
I think everybody from the year since I got into art, I've always wanted, oh, excuse me, a contemporary art gallery for Wales. You go into any other country, that's one of the things you look for. Wales never had that. It had a room in a museum, didn't it?
Mm.
And I think that the when you reference then that private thing, private, he just had the women's exhibition, doesn't he? And I think I don't know how it works, but I mean, you can call it whatever you want, really, innit? It's not. But I'm with the bigger version of it in 5 different sites. I mean, I don't know what that is supposed to be because I mean, a concept of a contemporary art gallery of Wales should be one place where you go to see it, isn't it? When it's spread over I mean, you basically got the Glenvivian, the Moss didn't open the Aberystwyth. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Merthyr Tydfil. I did like the idea of them putting it in Merthyr Tydfil, a very industrial area. They had an old building they could put together, do up because
Yeah.
over the years, because this argument over contemporary art has been going on for years, isn't it? The one that stood out for me would have been back in the 90s. Is it Bryn Mawr?
Hmm.
And they had that concrete concaved roof building up there. It was like the first one ever done out of concrete or something.
Mm.
Supposed to be incredible. I think it was a factory of some sort. No, that type of building would have reflected contemporary art so brilliantly in Wales, wouldn't it? A
Yeah.
very industrialised place, very brutalistic on the M4 corridor.
Yeah.
Um, and that could have been great, but it's about. I mean, I mean, my argument is what crap you put in it then after that, after you got it.
But do you think I know there's been a lot of consultation and a lot of very bright people have put their minds to this new contemporary art gallery. But do you think, or do you get the feeling that people in general, artists you might know, feel that they've missed a trick by not just going for one venue and being sort of, I mean, not just in art, but I found over the 20 years I've been working in the arts in Wales is that nobody has really figured out how to overcome the obstacle of the geography of the country for anything, So, a national theatre can't really have one venue. Now the galleries can't have one venues. Um, everyone's a little bit funny about centralising everything around Cardiff. That's all fair enough, But nobody's I'm not convinced that having it spread around 5 venues is the answer
Mm.
to it's not necessarily the opposite, is it, to having one venue?
I agree with you. It's not. I don't think it's the answer. And there's evidence already done. We've been doing it for the last couple of years because we got in Wales what's called the Artist Monday. Now, the Artist Monday used to be under one roof in the Cardiff Museum, but in the last couple of shows over the last few years, they've been spreading it all around Wales.
Mm.
Now, I didn't get to see what was going on in North Wales or West Wales. I mean, I got to see Cardiff and Swansea, and maybe Chapter. So I think in that direction, it doesn't work spreading these things out.
Mm.
I think it dilutes what you have. They they keep saying that we should have like 3 rugby teams or 2 rugby teams. Well, maybe we should just have the one place for contemporary art. And if
Yeah.
you want to have a little touring show, that's fair enough. But you've got to have something where you can focus on. I don't think it. I don't think it works spreading it around. I don't. Um,
I just think not how it doesn't matter where it is, and it doesn't matter whether it's a contemporary art gallery or anything else. But I think not having one venue, be it in Merthyr or Llandudno or Cardiff or Swansea or whatever, it smacks a little bit of a lack of confidence that what we build in this spot will not be enough to get people to come and see it.
well, this Gary, it would come back down to art and Wales. Over the years. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I asked people. I mean, when I had the studio and I just opened it up, and I'd ask people coming in, and I'd say like, "Oh, the Millennium Centre's opening tonight." What's that then? So that was down the bay. That would be the. So I mean, just regarding that one building, which they can spend 300 million or whatever it was, 100 million on, and nobody'd ever heard about it. So, just that one, actually, just that one building got enough story to reflect on how Wales treats art. It's music, good. Theatre, poof. I mean, you can't swing a cat without it in something with Wales theatre written in it, can you? I mean, it's just too many Wales, isn't it? National Wales, Theatre Wales. It's just too many times they use the word Wales. It's confusing to the normal person. And but when it comes to visual arts, it was. I think we're lacking a lot now. People over the years, I said, "Oh, they're picking the Artist Monday winner tonight." Never heard of it. I'd go up to London and I'd say the same thing in a gallery. They'd never heard of the Artist Monday. Might have changed a little bit, but if you tell people about the Turner Prize, oh, they all know about that. So what is it about the Turner Prize and what we do down here that's not as effective as that? Is it because the broadsheets are not covering anything in Wales? No, I think it is that, see. So you've got to really build up your audience for anything regarding the arts. And I think over the years we've had lots of chances. Say like you had the Artist Monday now, right? It's like a national, international show. Now, there should have been at least 4 home nations included in that. That's mandate. You get your
Mhm.
English, you get your Scottish, you get your Irish, you get your Welsh. Then you put it on roughly the same time as the 6 nations, So then you can talk about it like in a thing of, yeah, you got the 6 nations going on here, and you've got the 4 nations going competition here. And what I'm getting at was that it allows people normal people to understand, oh, right, we're taking them on in this art thing. What's that then? Well, I like my art to be just horses and, clothes and stuff like that. So a lot of people got their own idea what art is, isn't it? So
Well,
contemporary
I
art,
mean,
you just got a really good, but this is
you,
a way of
you,
giving them
you,
an idea of how to step in and take these small steps
the
into
com-
art.
the comparison with the Turner Prize is interesting because my idea of the Turner Prize is that part of its success is that in the 80s and 90s, almost every other year it did something to piss everybody off, right? The broadsheets were interested in a big establishment prize for art. The BBC and the Times and the Guardian were all interested in a big art prize that London hosted, right? They were interested in that. So when the prize started pissing those people off by nominating and awarding people who they felt, people like Tracy Emin and who they absolutely loathed back then. The BBC and the broadsheets loathed people like Tracy Emin winning the Turner Prize. What is art? All these conversations. What is art? And because it pissed people off, it built up all of this controversy, and controversy got column inches, and all of a sudden people who weren't necessarily interested in art were paying attention to the Turner Prize. And then the Turner Prize doesn't really piss people off anymore, but it's got that legacy. And I wonder, the reason I'm babbling on a bit, but the reason I am is because perhaps Wales doesn't have a prize of that ilk, because for many years it wouldn't piss people off. I mean, and you're the right person to talk to this about, right? Because for when you were younger, maybe you've grown up and grown out of it, I don't know. But when you were younger, you were something of the enfant terrible, to use that phrase, of the Welsh art scene. And you were, and I know you've talked to me about this before, you felt like in a lot of ways you just had the doors closed to you. So you weren't invited in to piss people off and cause controversy like you would have been, like the Turner Prize did to people. The Turner Prize went, these artists that people really hate, let's have them in and give them a Turner Prize. Whereas in Wales, they've never, nobody in Wales has ever, because it's a very small C, socially conservative, culturally conservative country in many ways.
Yeah.
It's never turned around to an artist like you in the 90s, for instance, and gone, well, let's give the biggest prize we've got to Neale Howells. They wouldn't even let you in the Eisteddfod.
I know. Sort of banned from the Eisteddfod. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully they've moved on from that, because I still enter the Eisteddfod every year. I'm a big supporter of it, but I think the idea of being controversial is a good way of putting art. I mean, just like the Turner Prize, that I wanted art in Wales to be on the front page and not in the middle pages or on the back pages. That's where I felt it should be. And regarding, so I mean, that's why I think everybody's heard of the Turner Prize, because the Turner Prize can be put on the front page by the London people. So if you do Artist Monday, you got to get them across. But yeah, you're quite right. And I was just thinking, and when you were saying that, it's just like when the Venice Biennale was put together, when Wales was out in the Venice Biennale, there were some people like me back home, wasn't it, giving it all this on the TV and on the telly and in the newspaper. And I got to say, I mean, that was just extraordinarily funny, because, I mean, it's funny because how it developed, but I think what it was for me was about, like, how can we get art seen by everybody? Why is it, like I said, right? Somebody comes into the studio, you spend £100 million on a building, they've never heard of it. You basically got to go back to your roots. You got to get people, you got to create a public that are interested in art. And, and so, like, how do you get people interested? How do you get it on the front page? Right, you've got to say something which is a bit controversy in it. But what happened with the Venice Biennale was just like, oh, that was so funny, because although I sort of started it off, it escalated when Kim Howells was interviewed on the.
Well, what happened? What did you say, Les? Because for people who don't know, what were you saying about the Venice
Well,
Biennale?
I think 2003, it was Wales' first time at the Venice Biennale, and it was it was quite exciting for everybody, because I can remember trying, I thought, because I was with the Washington Gallery then, and I'd done something. Anyway, I couldn't get anybody interested to even see the work. That's annoys me straight away, but there, right? So, there was 4 artists chosen. Sean, was it? Right. Who was the artist? Right. There was four artists. There was 2 Welsh artists, but they weren't living in Wales. Then we had an Irish artist, and I think it was Simon Pope, Sean Edwards. He was a photographer, and so this was 2003. Cerys Wyn or Cerys. Anyway, right.
Shall I
It
have
was
a
a long
quick
time
Google
ago.
so we can
It
get
was
the
a
name?
long time ago. Yeah, 2003 was a 4 artists.
2003. They do this on podcasts now. They just Google stuff.
Okay.
And now I have to try and spell Biennale.
Well, okay, so I just carry on with the story, right? So then they went out, and I just said, look, it's not fair that. I mean, now when I think about what I said, I don't know if it's. Anyway, I said, look, it's not fair, is it? Wales needs Welsh people to represent them, yeah? And I was really, annoyed that, I haven't been thought of, really. But that was enough for it to get get on the just get an interest in get somebody interested in it, saying, "Oh, right, Neale local Howells says this and that." Then it got followed up with a TV thing, news. But then what happened then was, I mean, couldn't make this up. It got they interviewed Kim Howells, who was culture secretary at the time, wasn't it? I just felt sorry for him. I did, because a bit like me, then I couldn't remember their names all, and he was put on the spot. He said, "Well, can do you think it's right that Wales for the first time, but all the ones they're showing is an Irishman, an Englishman, and there was 2 Welsh people who don't even live in Wales? Do you think it's right?"
So it was Cerys Wyn Evans and Sean Edwards from Wales. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
And I think it was a Simon Pope, is it?
Yeah.
He's like, and then there was this the girl's Cerys. I can't remember her name. But anyway, and so they asked him on Wales Today, "Can you name a contemporary artist?" And he couldn't. He was fumbling around and everything. And so this was on the nightly news, and it was brilliant. It was. Well, no, actually, I think it was I think it was on Radio 4 in the morning anyway, right? He was really put on the spot. He couldn't name anybody. Then they followed it up in the evening. They said, "Well, can you now, Kim, can you now name a Welsh contemporary artist? Contemporary being the important part, say."
Yeah.
And then you could see his eyes glancing down. "Well, yeah, you've got Harry Holland." And all the things, so he'd already had his things written down. I don't think Harry Holland thinks of him as contemporary artist anyway. But that then went onto the front page. And do you know what? Who was on the front page with him? Shani Reese James. So she takes all the glory, because they'd asked her. She'd just recently won the John Moores Prize or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so she said, "Oh, I think it's outrageous." Culture said, anyway. So that's where they went. And I was on the next page then, just me. And
you missed out the front page again.
That became about Kim, right?
Mm.
But when you think about it, it started off about the Wales, right? I bumped into somebody the other day. Oh, I bumped into somebody come on to me. He was in Cardiff Bay, and he said, "Do you know what, Neale? What? After you'd done that, you were never going to represent Wales." That's what he told me, right? He was an intern out there, and they'd all talked about it, and they'd seen what was going on back home, and they all. So these people, half a dozen people, had said, worked it out between them, and decided that I was never going to represent Wales or something. So I said to them, I said, "Well, it's a shame you didn't tell me earlier. I could have saved a lot of money on postage, right?" I said, but it says a lot, doesn't it, about Wales, doesn't it? That, some people can actually believe that they can, that, they have that power, or maybe they do have that power. Do you know what I mean? But it's quite an arrogant.
You've never been over there, have you? So
yeah, well, I've been over a few times, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But I think people are more happy. I mean, all I was trying to do at the time, sacrifice myself. On my, that's what I done because all I was interested in art. I
Yeah.
wanted art on the front page. I wanted people to talk about the Venice and art and Wales and art. It could have been just tucked away in the middle pages and had a little spot at the end of the news.
I mean,
Could have been just
that's very interesting though, because your reputation for a long time was as, a bad boy, as I say, the enfant terrible. And yet talking to you now and reflecting on some of those controversies you're in the center of, you genuinely sound like somebody who has been misperceived, as not being a bad boy, but somebody who just wanted art to be more prominent for what you think to be the right direction for Welsh art to be considered and for it to be taken.
yeah.
Um, did you ever? I mean, you probably didn't give a shit, right? But did you ever think like, oh, I don't have to get a bad rap. I'm just trying to do what I think is best, and I just seem to rub
Mm.
people up the wrong way.
Um, well, the thing is, I'd like to say I'm quite sincere, but the thing is about artists, we can say something and do another thing, but that's art. We describe something, and then I will say, "Oh, maybe I don't do it like that. I do it like this." We had a complete mix-up there, right? And then from all that mix-up, you've got to actually produce something which is worthwhile and will compete on the international stage. And now that's what I've always tried to do, and that's always I've tried to achieve. But I've always look. I have always felt that who gets the attention? It's not the good person. It's not the nice person. It's not the one who makes sure that Miss So and So gets her milk delivered every morning. It's the bad person. And I think every time you read something, good people gets that, but the bad person gets the most press. So I just took on this sort of like feeling that if I say things, that will be it'll be better for art. So whether it was again, all that stuff with Eisteddfod and I mean, I don't know, maybe I went over the top for that. But no, what I was just like on a roll by then, see Gary, and
Yeah,
so anything.
but it's good though, because I've never heard you say, regret anything, and you can. I mean, I feel the same way about some of the stuff I've been involved in over the last 20 years, and I do think, well, maybe if I'd done what I did at 35, at 55, I might have done it differently. But you've got to stand by the positions you take, as long as you think you took them for the right reasons and you said the things for the right reasons.
Yeah, and that was right. Whether I was like lying or making things up or just saying it to get attention. The whole point was was to get artwork
Yeah,
considered
yeah.
and put on the front page, and I thought, well, that's how we're going to build up an audience for in Wales to get people more interested in art, which let people buy art, and then more people can make a living from art. Because I mean, when I started off with the Washington Gallery, it was such a strange time because Maggie Knight, who a couple of years ago passed away, she was a very, I always thought of her as a contemporary artist, a contemporary gallery director, and she would earn money for the artists as she would they were there. She was quite a commercial artist, but we did not get a bad uh, sort of feeling from those in Cardiff, the artists in Cardiff, who thought it was like outrageous that you could make money out of art. It was like chalk and cheese at the time.
Mm.
We're talking about like mid 90s and early noughties. But they thought it was terrible. Some of the big galleries that you would art wasn't about making money from,
Mm.
and excuse me, but if you ask any artist and somebody's bought their work, it's such a validation to the time and all that you've spent working on it. It makes you feel good. Not only that, you've got to um, encourage people to buy art as well, because I think the longer that they got art in the house, the more time they got to enjoy it. And it could even be an investment at the end of the day. Who knows, isn't
Mm.
it? But I think the sooner you buy art, the better it was. But I mean, that was such a strange time. It's like that so many people that art was a big division in art in Cardiff. I felt anyway. And but this is how weird it all went. By the end of my time at the Washington Gallery, the same artists who didn't like the fact we was making were actually Maggie was showing their work and making money for them. So
Well, I was going to say, I wonder how many of those artists in Cardiff were actually a little bit jealous that you guys had the setup you did, and you had somebody like Maggie who was championing you for those reasons. I mean, all artists can be high and mighty as they like, but making a living
well,
is what everybody wants to do, right? No, I mean,
yeah,
very
yeah.
few artists want to sell out, right? But the confusion between selling out and making a living, I think is well, it's probably old fashioned nowadays, but then late 90s, early noughties was the heat of the battle, I suppose, on that subject.
And if it wasn't for that gallery, it probably wouldn't have. Manix might have even had a different album cover, for 2001, because that's where it all started with. She created such a lovely environment, that gallery. She had a cafe, and she'd extended the gallery upstairs. So people used to go there in Penarth to hang out in a way. And I think Nicky Wire was one of the people who used to enjoy going there and stuff. And so that's how he became, how he got familiar. Okay, we were doing a lot of stuff in the magazines and Buzz, and there was all these other magazines that was going on at the time. So I'd like to think that he'd seen something in those, or he'd read something anyway. But it was actually this was an opportunity to see the work in real life, wasn't it? In the gallery.
Yeah.
So and that's how it all started. I believe. He bought a couple of works for his friends as presents. Then I get a call saying like, "Would you be interested?" I said, yeah, I would. Why wouldn't you? No. So so I was just invited up to London then with a portfolio of work, and just to show them. Um,
Was it a
and
bit
that
of a bit of a pitch meeting? You just went with a load of work and said, this is the sort of stuff, and they looked through and were like, great.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Because I mean, it was early days of the internet. Do you know what I mean? Couldn't
Hmm.
really see a lot on the internet of things, so you still had to physically show work, photographs and stuff. And it was a lovely meeting because you go to these office of this big record place, Sony, I think it was, or whatever, Marylebone. And you go upstairs and you go to sit down and you get to see all the records on the wall, and then you get told stories like, oh, I met and I bumped into I bumped into Tom Jones and stuff like that, and I go, oh, no way, yeah, and I go, I said he spoke to me, and they go, what? He said, yeah. He said, get the fuck out of my way. And and you have you had a bit of fun up there and stuff, and it was good. And because I didn't tell anybody I was going for this. I hadn't been asked because I just didn't know I was going to go. But it was
Yeah.
great then. And so I was kindly asked to submit a load of work, and then again, we done a bit of promotion for him in Cardiff on the roundabout, and that
Hmm.
didn't last it lasted a couple of days before that was taken down. Uh, it was quite funny.
What,
I never,
taken down by the authorities, or
yeah, by
just
the
nick?
authorities, they came and
Right.
took it away. We got there one morning. No, the thing is, Gary, I don't read the small print really. I um. So when I signed it, signed the contract and that, I said, yeah, this is great and that. And then I wrote, but they wanted something that reflected the album. I mean, I didn't read that until like 2, 3 years later. I was like, I look at reading that. So I just went in there and I just sort of went, well, I just do what I want, do what normal, just be myself. That's what I can do. Um, so anyway, being myself then ended up with the words FUCK written on it. Now the thing is, right? Yes, they might have been in large letters, And I give you that. And people could have seen him when they were driving round the roundabout. But it was I hadn't finished the work. I was constantly changing words on it, but it didn't matter. There's one person complained, the next minute the whole thing was taken down, and it just disappeared. So I just I just could. It left this NHS poster under it. I remember that, so I just continued painting on that. I mean, I thought, well, it's got nothing else to do.
Do some
And
free work for the NHS.
yeah, well, I mean, when I went to college, there were some great people there, and I remember one of the guys who influenced me was like, sort of influenced me, but he was really clever. Like he'd look at things differently. He'd look at words, and he'd a bit like. Well, this is my theory about it. I'm not saying he was Banksy or nothing, but at that time in Bristol, there was a sort of an art social. Oh, what's this? Right, there was an art social thing, so you could be really clever in urban art, and you'd make a statement, a political statement. So yeah, that's what he was doing. He'd look at words differently, or he'd cut things out and put them out. And I think that's what Banksy does. He's very political, isn't he?
Mm.
And actually, I remember Banksy. They were all roughly at the same time because he was he was wanted by the police for years. Strange how things turn around, isn't it? Now they can't wait to get his work off, and sell it. Yeah. So I mean, he was very clever. So when I worked on that sort of poster that the NHS thing left, it was just about like taking out letters and stuff. But I always think, I mean, yeah, a lot of things influence me, and people who write. I remember writing in work. I hadn't done that before I went to college, and I seen somebody doing it. I thought, oh, that's nice. I like that. So basically,
it's become a bit of a hallmark of your work, hasn't it? The text, and of
yeah,
course,
I think you're right. Yeah,
some of the controversy with the Eisteddfod came from the text being in the work.
Well, they've shot themselves in the foot now, haven't they? Because they've said you can't use any English language, or they measure how many words are in there. And I don't think art really works like that, does it?
No.
And most people I know use English, and if they're going to write, the English speakers. That's the way it is. But see, I suppose with the Eisteddfod, you don't really get a snapshot of what's going on in Wales anymore, because you've got to. There's rules to who can accept it, and I know people put the argument up, but like, to me, they say, well, so Welsh is going to be Welsh things, and I said, well, okay, but art is supposed to be an international language, isn't it? Where you thing,
Do you think though?
It could go on forever and more, and it probably will, won't it?
Yeah, it probably will. But do you think it's like having some of those doors closed to you has been to your benefit in the end, being sort of on the outside of the or not being embraced by the establishment at any point? Do you think that's worked to your benefit? And I don't mean like career wise, but I mean like to your mentality, having this kind of rebellious attitude has been beneficial to you. It sort of helps curate that attitude in you, that streak.
I don't know, Gary. I think I'm a bit of a nut, really. Tell you the truth, it comes down to that. I don't know what it is. I think
what would have happened if they had embraced you and invited you into the establishment? I don't think that would have worked for you at all, would it?
I don't know. I mean, I would have. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes. But then, since I've grown older, I sort of realised that I've shot myself in the foot so many times. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have. If I hadn't done this and I hadn't done that, I could have been. People might have known about me. People might know about me. I might have been still popular. Do you know what I mean? I can remember. I mean, I screwed it up for myself all the time. It's as if it's a dare in my brain. And I go, is somebody dead? If somebody gives me a toss, I go, right, God, thanks for giving me that. Why should I blow it now? What is it about doing something stupid then, you know? So I can remember doing, I get invited onto Radio 5, right? So they just want people to talk about art and give their views on curators. And I had a view of curators, or they just people just want to make jobs for themselves, you know, and they don't really needed and all that. And you don't need a literal crutch to enjoy artwork, as everything seems to be these days, you know. This means that, and this represents this. So I mean, that was pretty straightforward. Why couldn't I just do that normally? I don't know. I had to do something ridiculously stupid on that, right? And the way I get cut off, and they go, "Oh, thank you very much, Neale.
What
That'll
did you
be."
do? What did you do? I see me going through the archive. What did you do?
Well, I don't know if we've ever seen you know that again. Oh, well, I pretended to do the interview while having a pee leg. You know, I mean, why? What is that about? I mean, now when they say it, I suppose it's quite creative, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I said, "Oh, hang on a minute, just finishing up in here," and all I was doing was pouring water down the, you know, into a bowl like that to make the sound, and they were all in the studio going, "What's going on there? What's he doing?" and stuff. And that, you know, and then of course I named one of my works, and the titles were probably not fit for airing. You know, it was just like, all right, what's that? And that's 401. That was what? And now this is a thing. Some of the people on the show said, "Oh, that was really interesting. I was interested in what he said then." So I suppose over the years, for like, I gotta say, right. So we had one show cancelled up in was it the Oriel Davis Gallery many years ago, and that was just cancelled because I swore or something. I'd used some my own advertising for the show, and the thing is, I'd always done that. And anyway, it didn't go down too well with them. But then out of the closet, out of the moon comes Ruth Lambert from Museum of Modern Art up in Machynlleth. Well, funny enough, she's recently acquired a piece of her work for her thing, so that was quite nice of them. So for everybody who thinks, right, you know, oh my God, this guy, what's he doing? There's somebody else who's thinking, oh, I get it. You know, I mean, this is good. This is what art should be. It's so exciting. It's somebody saying not the norm, and I'm taking a chance. And I think I've taken chances, and some of the times they've worked out.
Mm.
You're talking like maybe like 1 in 10 times, you know. But what am I supposed to do, really? I mean, I suppose I could just not. I suppose I could have shut my mouth, just done the same thing, and be a multi-millionaire selling artwork all over the world and considered. But who wants that, Gary? Come
No,
on.
exactly. I couldn't think
Who
of anything
wants
worse,
that?
to be honest.
What's
Yeah.
that? Come on, we were rough and ready down in Batal, but who
Well,
knows?
I mean, but it's difficult not to think, and I totally understand that. Like, I understand things just happen the way they do, and one thing leads to another, and it's very difficult to map it out or plan it ahead. And a career in the arts is a very strange thing when you look at it from any direction. But taking on the artwork for the Manics, you know, iconic artwork for one of the biggest art acts, you know, musical or other, ever to come out of Wales. Well, like one of the biggest acts in the UK. You were aligning yourself with a punk movement there. I mean, you know, they're like a proto punk. I mean, they weren't by that time. They were more of a glam rock pop by that point. But you were aligning yourself with you know, they have a branding of anti-establishment. You were joining that circle, you know. You weren't moving to the establishment of the. We were talking about Artist Monday earlier. I mean, like what could be done for something like a brand of Artist Monday for it to be awarded to somebody to an artist, you know, like yourself, who's been spending their career going around kicking over some statues. Like these prizes are always But, they're interesting. The artists are always very good, but they're always very worthy, aren't they? I never get
Um,
the feeling there's any like side to them, as my mother used to say. There's no side to them. Everything's very, the winner is documenting the immigration in Myanmar, and it's always very worthy, which is great. But where are the prizes for things that are a bit more spiky, a bit more
I,
punk?
I, Joe, I used to say, and I think it's still valid today, if we had a power cut in this country, we could lose more than half of our contemporary art overnight. You know,
Mm.
but where's that contemporary art? Well, that power cut we had last night, and it's not on the wall anymore. And I remember the Artist Monday being like, there's so much video, there's so much film.
Mm.
Once the power goes, there wasn't much left to look at.
Yeah.
I got, I gotta say, right? I mean, with the Manics and all that, they really are. I mean, they're so nice people. I gotta say it. Do you know what I mean? And Nikki and James and Sean and that. So I'm fortunate to have met them. I get, if they will invite me along. So I must be doing something okay. I'm screwed that up yet. But I mean, yeah, I would say. I mean, they. I think sometimes maybe what people see of people outside what they really like in the real world. So it's like myself. I remember Rachel Trevese saying, "Oh, I was so apprehensive about meeting you, Neale. I needn't be done, had I?" Not really, I
Well,
suppose.
you do have a
Eh,
bit of a reputation, Neil. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that we've met quite a few times and you're just the loveliest guy, I might have been a little bit like, oh, should I have Neil onto the podcast? He can be a bit, you know. But
yeah.
we've met quite a few times, and you're always just the loveliest guy. So it was obvious to me to have you on because I knew you'd be good value.
See, if only everybody knew that. I'm really nice. But when it comes, the thing is, I am two different people. When it comes to art, I like pushing the boundaries. I like pushing people. If somebody tells me, I don't do it so much these days, Gary. I'm quite happy for people not to like anything. Do you know what I mean? Do you know, this is a good example, really, of how you change. If somebody used to say to me, "Oh, I really like that," I go to them, I go, "Well, what the fuck do you know? What do you know about that?" You're taking somebody's compliment and then you're throwing it back at them. Now, I can imagine that is quite. Now, I had to go. I felt like I've gone through all this just to learn the fact. No, you know, thank you very much. I'd say now. That's kind of you. Thank you
That
very
is
much.
growth. That is definitely growth.
Yeah, I think so. And it's just like, Neil, why couldn't you have been like this before? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, it is what it is. I think you wouldn't. We are where we are, isn't it? And I don't think of anything. I don't regret anything. I tell you what, I did regret for a long time when I'm a big Star Wars fan. Okay, so one of my favorite films. I thought it definitely influenced me when I was growing up. Star Wars. Seeing it for the first time. Gary going, "Oh my God, he's a Star Wars fan. Quick. I didn't realize that. No, I got something wrong with
Hey,
the
I'm
whole
a big,
book. I can't
I'm a
get it.
big,
Can't hear
I'm a
him."
big Star Wars fan. Don't worry, I'm a big Star
Oh,
Wars fan. I grew up
right.
with it
So
as well.
So when I was in college, I had a lot of Star Wars toys. I used to buy them from the junk shops and stuff. So there was a lot of them around then, Attack Walkers and
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And somebody seen them in my room one day and said, "Neil, you big kid, I got some news for you." He said, "Do you know who's on your floor?" I said, "No." She said, "Well, her dad is worked on Star Wars, Brian Johnson."
Right,
Now I goes, "Well, okay, I know what I like the toys, but I didn't know who was who." Brian Johnson was a special effects guy on The
right.
Empire Strikes Back. So anyway, I realised then, after couldn't Google in them days, say you had to actually go and find out who these people are in books and stuff. I got to meet him so I met her and he said, "Oh," she goes, "Wait, look, when my dad comes down to say, pick me up or whatever, you can meet him." I said, "Oh, fantastic." So I met him, lovely guy. He said, and I was saying how much I like film and advertising. I still didn't know what I was going to do. I was still painting, obviously, but I was also doing everything else.
Mm.
And he said, "Look, why don't you come down to our studio one day to see us making films and advertising?" But I didn't go do it.
You didn't go.
Didn't go. I didn't go. And I don't know whether I didn't go because I didn't know how to get in touch with him, or I just didn't take him up on the offer. I know where that I regretted for a while. I used to go to town and I used to sit at the bar drinking, and they go, "What's the matter with you, Neil? You still thinking about Brian Johnson and that side of the yeah. Did and people used to tap me and say, Just leave it go, man." It was like
Well, at
time's
least
so
you've let it go
slow.
now anyway.
Uh, so yeah, well, oh God, I forgot about all that. It's all come back. But I guess, like, see, if I had a choice of what would I like to have worked in, if it wasn't art, like I said, I fell into art.
Mm,
Maybe that was just meant to be. I would have loved to work. I like film. This is why it's such a big component to what I do, really. And advertising. I loved advertising, the way that Colours of Benetton would put up those posters that would just annoy people. That's they were
yeah,
quite controversial, weren't they,
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
day? But cinema, you go in to see a cinema, it's their massive screen, and the first 5 minutes is so important in a film. No matter what film you watch, it's always the first 5 minutes, isn't it? That kind
Mm,
of draws you in, and it's just like that's really what I think of when I put an exhibition together. I make sure I got a large piece of work, and it's right where you can see it, and that's the one that's going to draw you in, and then you go through and and then you can enjoy something else around it. You can enjoy the story, maybe. Who knows? I
mm.
mean, it's always nice to say, like, oh, when they go, like, what's your work like, Neil? I go, well, have you seen children's drawings? Bigger versions of them. But lately, I've been saying, like, well, think of the colour as the melody and the words as the lyrics, and things like that. And people have, people nod their head and go, yeah, he's man. Yep, come on, let's go. But see, Gary, this is a thing, right? When you show work, the thing is that people always would like to ask you is, "What's that about then?"
Mm,
Right? And I
yeah.
tell you what, ask an artist, "What's that about?" And it's a good question for an artist because they get stuck. They get stuck. They don't know really what it's about. Like, what should it be about anything? And that's when I started showing them animation, like the stop framed animation, and they used to pause and look at it. I'd never had to explain their work after that. They just put the video on, and
Mm,
they could see it building up, and and I was quite amazed really because it's like, yes, it shut them up a lot of the time, but it was a connection between
mm.
your brain and animation, and that got me then thinking about cartoons and what is it about cartoons that makes you interested in them, and they're so popular, aren't they? And they just
Well, it feels like something in your work has always been. There's a storytelling element which has always been there. I mean, it's obvious to
Mm.
draw attention to the use of text in your work as being something to do with storytelling, but then collaborating in music, collaborating in fashion. These are all, I mean, the great fashion designers always talk about how the clothes tell a story, and
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
music is a form of storytelling. And moving into animation and into movement, I wonder if there's something your overarching sort of career preoccupation is finding a way that you get to tell a story.
I cou- I mean, from the literature point, I remember at one point I took time out of college and I was just like, and I was looking at words and I was starting to a bit think of them as drawings. And I thought, that's interesting. But so it's quite easier to do it if you're looking at hieroglyphics or Japanese or something like that. You can actually see them as drawings, can you? But it's hard
Mm,
to do it with English language or maybe, the letters and stuff. But so that, I've always treated it's I mean, it's like a conduit between the radio and the work, and whatever's coming in through my ears is going to feed it out through my hands a lot of the time and stuff.
mhm,
But I've got to say, right, I'm always looking around for things to do and that. And I tell you what, one thing that really sort of interests me lately is like animation, AI. I think it's fabulous. Um, I done there's, I mean, I've been passing a lot of street art last year, back and forth, right? And I thought, well, I remember thinking, right, I've got all these pictures of the fashion, fashion pictures. What if, and that's it, is it? Is that what they meant to be? Just dead, not just still pictures forevermore on my laptop, whatever. And I thought, well, maybe I could just do something with an animation using AI. So that's what I
Mm,
done, and I started putting them on my Instagram, and I felt the fashion one was really successful. I thought, ooh, this is interesting. And so when I passed the street art, I thought all these guys who do their work, it's got to be more to it than that. So let's
mm,
see if we can bring them alive using AI. And we done it, and I got to say it was great because there's two Mike. There's a Michael Sheen, is his dad, and his mother. His mother. She doesn't get a mention, does she? His mother, poor. She probably prefers to be in the background. Are you going to put me in any murals? Nah, nah. Just a dad and you, Mike. That's all I got. Poor thing. So there's two of them, and I thought, wow, let's animate. And I'm using AI, and it's like it came out really well. And then I just added, as I went around Patel, but I looked for more to add to it, and we done like a minute and a half of film, put some lovely music over the top, some Malik's, they used that. I couldn't believe it. It's like, and that's I gotta say, right? I went to the Cardiff Museum. And this is how it's funny how things for me works in my brain, is that there was a Cardiff, there was a picture post. Do you ever remember that magazine?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you was born in the 30s, when you got.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I used to
Yeah.
get it when I was a kid. I subscribed.
And apparently it was like the magazine to have. It would be saying
Yeah.
what's going on in the war, and then after the war it became like, this is how you should live your life and all that. So the Picture Post was a great magazine, and they had this exhibition of all a lot of the pictures there, the original photographs and that. And I was thinking, God, right, what if we bring them back to life? So that's what I done. I spent my time then taking pictures of the pictures themselves, then reanimating them using AI. And I gotta say again, done it to put some music of Elvis Presley on it. It's like he suited the black and white look. Uh, I just amazed at it. It's such a good medium, and it's such a creative medium.
Yeah.
I know I done an interview about it, and people said, "Well, it's going to finish off art in it and all that." I said, "Oh, look, they probably said the same thing when the synthesizer came out, didn't they? You know,
Oh, yeah.
and they said that's it, the orchestra's done. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything in a box. You don't need me anymore."
Yeah.
But it's just became a tool then, didn't it? And more people sort of could access music then via it.
Mm.
So maybe the artists of the future don't even know they're blooming artists yet. They go, I mean, Health Suite, right, Nice New Leisure Centre is a great way of going and mourning. And, it's always usually blokes. And the funny time is when you're there and you go in, like, and you're looking around, it's all blokes in the steam when you go in. Do you know what day it is today? And you go, nah, it's Valentine's Day. All right. That says a lot about us, doesn't it? Have we hit rock bottom when you're like in a room full of blokes on Valentine's Day, like? And then one of them said, I know, I'm married as well. And he's, so I was, but you meet people in there, and I remember this guy was in there, and he's saying, "Oh, they just had to lay off a load of graphic designers, but they were taking on 2 prompters or 3 prompters." And I hadn't heard of that word before as a job
Mm.
description. I said, "What's that then?" He said, "Oh, these are people who work with AI, so they tell AI what they want, and that's a skill in itself to work it with AI." Oh, I find like new technology. It's just really interesting,
Well,
as
yeah, I mean, as a tool, I mean, there's a lot of controversy about, art and culture of it because, writers are afraid that they're going to get replaced. But I just do think, I think I saw Salman Rushdie at the Hay Festival a couple of years ago, and he was asked this question about AI replacing writers, and he said, well, he's looked at quite a few of these AI models that copy the style of famous writers, and he was one of them. And he said we haven't got anything to worry about as long as AI doesn't have a sense of humor. Um, and he said none of them could write jokes. AI can't write any funny stories. Um,
Oh, really?
well, at the
I'd have to
time,
I'd have to disagree with him there, 'cause there was for the Neath Arts Festival, which is coming up this year actually, for last year's, you could write your own, play and put it on, and they would put it on for you.
right?
And I thought, well, for fun, I'll just make up a name and I'll just get AI to write it for me. Oh my God. If it was so funny. I mean, it was it was like Red Dwarf in space. And I'm not sure if these have been ripped off or they harvest other jokes. I hadn't heard of them before. I
How
hadn't
did it?
heard.
Did you entered it in the competition?
Yeah, they didn't pick it. They just picked, people who.
Actual people.
Yeah, but they didn't know it was AI. I didn't say it was AI. Although I do give clues. If I use AI, I give clues like the initials will be A, like I don't know, Albert, or yeah, Alice or something, and then I will be the surname in I, or the song accompanies it will be like it's an illusion. So I like giving small little,
Yeah.
you know, insights into it because I don't want to. I mean, not that it doesn't matter. Who cares how it's made? This is back to art school, where people used to say, "Is it the process that's important, or is it the end result?"
Mm.
AI is probably perfect for that. Really, I mean, does it matter how you get there, as long as you get there? I mean, nobody ever comes up and says, "Well, that's a great song, but can you show me how you got there?" They haven't got. It's just, and it's still such a helpful tool, really. And I think as long as you know it's a tool, because it's not perfect,
Well,
and
yeah, of course, yeah.
it's not because I've had it to summarize things that I've written, clean it all up, a bit the grammar and everything, and
Mm,
you read back and it's left out things. What did
yeah,
it consider that important?
yeah.
So you've got
I
to
I
read. Yeah, you've got
I
to do.
use AI for research all the time, and it's wrong.
Mm.
As 30% of the time, it's factually wrong.
Yeah,
So it is. I find it really useful in research terms. If I've
and you.
got as a
Yeah,
tool, if I'm stuck on something and I'm like, give me three examples of something that I can't figure out, and it'll rarely give me the answer I'm looking for, but it'll just like spark my brain over a hurdle. It'll
yeah,
it'll it'll get like a stuck record. It'll just skip the stylus on in my
yeah.
brain, and that's really really useful. Yeah, as a tool. I think it's potentially remarkable. But
Hmm.
again, people have problems with it. But it's the people using them. Do I trust the power of AI in the hands of Elon Musk? Well, no, but I wouldn't really trust him to park my car. Never mind, like, rule the world. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and who give him a chainsaw to wave around on a stage? What's going on there? That's like it's mental, isn't it? I get it. I mean, so it is what it is, isn't it? It's
yeah,
full of mistakes. It's not perfect. You shouldn't rely on it totally, 100%, because and you should make your own mind up at the end of the day. Like I said, it gives you
yeah,
ideas. For me, it's good at sorting out my grammar,
mm,
and if you have to send something, bit professionally, but it also uses words to describe things which are great you hadn't thought of. I love the word I mean I write it out first and then I put it through AI and it comes up with a more cleaner, more
mm.
thing, and it goes, "Oh, do you want to emphasize this or do you emphasize that?" And anyway, you got to learn to stop at sometimes, something. So, and it's just like, and I just love when I was doing the BBC and I wanted to put something out there to say like, well, this is what we've been doing with the names, and it just puts out and presents it in a lovely way. And it used the word woven. Now,
Mm,
I didn't think of the word woven. It's such a nice, it directly tells you what's been going on. The artwork had been woven into the series, really, hasn't it?
mm.
So I say things like used in the
Yeah,
series. and woven is much a better verb, isn't it? So,
Mm.
it's like, it does give, helps me anyway, because English wasn't one of my best subjects, in school. It was just like, I didn't leave with an O-level English. It took me ages to get it because I never used to read. And it's funny that, isn't it? It's funny. It's like now, for somebody who didn't read, wasn't, always struggled with reading. I use what writing all the time in the works.
Yeah.
It's
I was
funny,
just
isn't it?
thinking that's quite ironic. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems. I still don't know why I put this huge figure in there though, with the big arms. And
Yeah.
what is, I will look, it's nose and eyes. I keep telling everybody it's not like genitals, it's nose and eyes. Come on. Think
Have you
outside.
ever uh, have you ever considered therapy, Neil? Has that ever been?
I did until I found out it was 50 quid a session. I thought, nah, that's all right. I just go to the help suite. I'll just go there, see what's going on. If you need any help, just say, No, I mean, I think a lot of people are using AI as that, though, aren't they? I was listening to
Yeah,
Jeremy
that
Vine the other day. It seems to be a
there,
lot of a
there was a
thing.
podcast about it or something about it. I think there was a podcast about it about there's a term for it now, like being addicted to AI and for I can't remember what the term is, but Helen Lewis was writing something about it about people who use AI so much they use it like 7-8 hours a day, and
Whoa,
it starts changing the way that they start thinking of it as a real person, because you can have it's not like Google, but you can
yeah,
you can essentially have like what your brain perceives as a conversation
yeah,
with it, and you start depending on it and thinking of it as a friend, and you go to them when you've got you go to, like you would a friend, you go when you've got problems or you need to sort something out, or you're like, should I do this, should I do that, and you have like moral conundrums and ethical problems, and yeah, it's becoming a real problem, particularly in America. There's been some like high profile cases of, I think, people killing themselves because they've used AI as a therapist, and AI, because it's built on the like algorithmical structure where it just like uses a compendium of advice structures and strategies, and just says like, yeah, well, to be honest, like, what, from everything you've said, I think suicide is probably your best option, and they've just gone off and killed
shouldn't
themselves.
laugh really. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but
That sounds like they've paid for the subscription service, though, don't
yeah,
they?
it
They get
does
a
though,
little bit.
really doesn't. I
I
don't get that deep. No, I don't.
No, I just get the cheap free version. I do. I get 5 goes on it or something, and it tells me, right, you've used enough of the wait another day
Yeah,
or something.
yeah,
And I think quite rightly as well,
yeah.
because
By the
that's
sounds of
what
it,
could
yeah,
happen. You could just use it all the time, like you were saying, like these people are doing.
yeah.
I mean, I only get access to it, what I use anyway, occasionally, And then, but you're right. If you're paying for something, you might. How do they find time to go on their Instagram then? If they're on it, Facebook. I mean, their life must be just constantly back and forth these things, isn't it? Because we all
Yeah,
know how addictive the phone is. It seems to be
yeah, of course.
designed to be addictive. In that
Yeah,
that way to
yeah. I think
scroll
it is.
and stuff. Oh my god. So yeah. So I think. I tell you what. I mean, we came down the studio the other day. It's funny how music has been a big part of the work that I do, because Lucy Morgan came down, and Lucy Morgan, she's a Welsh violinist,
Hmm.
uh, but she plays in a band, and there's only one violin in in one of the pop bands that I think most people are aware of, and that would be Dexby Midnight Runners, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so she plays the lead violin, when it comes to "Come on, Eileen." Do, do, do.
They're going back on tour, right? They're touring the end of the year.
Well, she came down with um, she had 2 violins. She wanted me to paint them up. She wanted to. I doubt if they'll
Wow.
ever play music again, though, because but they were her granddad's, and she
Right.
wanted to make something. She needed something for some promotion. She wanted to get new pictures done, so she had this idea. Well, let's do the violins,
Hmm.
and let's ask Neale to do them. So that was nice of her. So yeah, she's yeah. I mean, it's nice to do music and collaborate. It seems to be a collaboration of art and music,
Mm.
going right the way through my career in a way.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
interesting.
so. Oh, I said career then, didn't I? Have I got a career? Have any of us got a career?
We
I
shouldn't
mean,
talk that
we
way.
just
It's tempting fate.
we just unemployable. That's all we are. So we get, we just unemployable and we just do the best we can with what we got. And we manage to get through, this long. I mean,
Yeah.
most people my age are retired now. I couldn't even go back to work even if I wanted to, if I wanted to do something else. I heard the other day, right? I mean, I was talking to somebody who says policemen retire at 55.
Yeah, I know.
What's that about?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have thought, right, all that knowledge of who's the
Well,
bad
yeah,
guy,
you'd think they're
who's the
just
what.
getting good at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, we won't be needing, we got to give all, you take all that, we're going to give it to the kid now. The kid,
Yeah. Yeah.
pointing at Wells. But yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, you think of like Sherlock Holmes and Pipe and, right, Sherlock, where you going?
I
Oh,
think
today you see, you sat, well, there's your
I
hat, there's your coat, and there's your pipe off.
I think the pension plan was a bit different in Victorian England, though. It was a
Oh,
bit different.
right. Well, that's
Hey,
another thing,
Neale,
was it?
Neale,
Yep. Well,
we could talk for longer and longer, but
yep. But
I'm
we've
gonna
got
have to say
lives.
we've got
Well, so
lives.
but
I'm gonna have
you
to
got a
say thank
life.
you.
You got a life. I haven't. So come on. We've got another 5 hours to go. We could say it's a comic relief thing and just talk. Next time we do it, we'll have noses on, and we got to say like,
A podcastathon. That's what we should do.
yeah, we could see how that goes. Get a couple of people on here and just all wearing the noses, and we'll just do it. We got to finish each other's story off.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, one of those things when you was a kid. Remember, you do the head and you fold the paper over. And then you do the body and arms or something, and you fold it over
Oh, yeah.
again. And you look at it and go, my God, that's about as good as it's going to get. Perhaps there's a story there. Oh, well, thanks for asking us to do this. This is good.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. Always good to talk.
With an audience of one, you are unabandoned by crusty